I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I had a high school physics teacher who got me excited about physics. He would always do demonstrations, and once I saw that physics strives to explain the world we live in, I was hooked. And I applied to UC Davis as a physics major. So I got my bachelor's degree in physics at Davis. And then I went on to San Diego, UC San Diego, got my master's in physics there. And when you go through school, when you're a student, right, you meet somebody somewhere at a party, they say, what do you do? You say, I'm a student. They say, what's your major? You say, I'm a physics major. They say, oh, I hated physics. I don't know why they feel compelled to share that with you, but that is overwhelmingly the response I would get from people when I was in school. And physics is not easy. This is a tough class. It might be the toughest class you've ever had, but it's good stuff. Okay, it's interesting stuff. It's, you know, I took my kids to see the monarch butterflies over in Santa Cruz a while back, and I was in awe of these little butterflies, right? They migrate 1,000 miles to the same set of eucalyptus trees over there, and it's every other generation migrates. It's not every generation, it's every other generation migrates. And then this how they transform, right? Caterpillar into a butterfly. I mean, just in awe. I mean, you can't learn about this and not be amazed and not think, wow, I can understand how some people would want to spend their lives studying this. I don't. But I can appreciate how exciting it would be for some people to study that. Well, I hope there's something this quarter. You might not run to the registrar's office and change to a physics major, but I hope you'll at least appreciate what physics has to offer. And something during this quarter will strike with you, maybe a hobby you have, maybe you're a sports fan and something will click with there, maybe some hobby you have, maybe you play a musical instrument, something that can be explained or you can better understand because you have some knowledge of physics, and something in this class I hope really resonates with you, and I hope you leave here not saying I hated it, but saying, you know, that was tough, but I appreciate what it does, and I can understand why some people get excited about this. And I will try to do a lot of demonstrations also. Some of them are very instructional. Some of them are just, you know, more fun. But it's better than having you fall asleep. So I'll try to do some demonstrations in here. It's not too hard. We're just right across the way. I'll bring some stuff over, and we'll do some demonstrations, and I'll try to show you that physics strives to explain the world we live in. And sometimes it gets it right, and sometimes it doesn't, but that's okay. You come up with the best model you have at the time, and as you learn more, you refine your model and fix it and change it, right? That's what it's about. So that's what physics does. This quarter we will be doing mechanics, right? That means things like motion, projectile motion, but not just projectile motion. Car moving along a road, things like that. We will get into describing that motion using kinematics equations. That means without forces, and then we'll use forces to describe the motion and how the forces change the motion. And then we'll get into energy and analyze problems using energy, conservation of energy, things like that. Then we'll get into momentum. And then we're going to do the course all over again in the last 3 weeks, only this time with rotational motion. So the very first thing we'll be doing is rotational kinematics. And then rotational, we don't call it force when something's rotating, we call it torque. But rotational motion, and then rotational energy, and rotational momentum. So we're going to do the whole thing over again for rotational systems. And then we'll talk about gravity and springs and oscillating systems at the end. But the point I'm trying to make is you don't want to fall behind because it builds on itself. It's like a lot of the math classes you've taken, right? If you get a C in this quarter in math, next quarter you're screwed, right? You can't go back and take the previous class over because you passed it, but you don't know the material well enough to pass the next class, most likely, right? I mean, the stats here are unbelievable. If you get a C in a math class, you have like a 1 in 10 chance of passing the next class, something like that. It's really tough. So physics is very similar, right? It's that first midterm, that first exam. If you don't have a good handle on it, well, come exam 3, you're going to be doing the exact same thing, but for rotating systems, right? It builds on itself. So you want to don't get behind, right? Put in the effort and keep up. And then the time frame, they say about 2 hours of study time for every hour of lecture. And this, that we have, 4 hours of lecture a week, right? So, you should be thinking about 8 hours a week outside of class that you're breaking open a physics book. And if that's not in your schedule, then just drop the class, right? Do yourself the favor and just take care of it now, right? If you've got that time in your schedule and you can make the commitment, then do it and don't get behind. Maybe the first week or two, maybe you've had a good physics class in high school, this stuff is easy and you breeze by, but don't get complacent. I have a lot of students that say, oh yeah, they nail the first week or two, the quizzes, and then all of a sudden week 3 or 4, the new material starts ramping up, and they're still on relaxed mode like they've seen it all before. So don't get complacent and don't let that happen to you.